Welcome to the back pew. Well, let's admit it first. First Lutheran Church is in Galveston, and Galveston is an island. We are surrounded by water. Now, most of the time it's quite beautiful, quite wonderful. But we are an island. I recently was at the Galveston Historical Foundation's museum that tells about the Great Storm of 1900. They tell the story that early on, as that day was unfolding, people were going out to the beach to see the wonders of all the waves. The surf was up higher than normal. People were in the water bathing in the waves. But then a fine line was crossed. The wonderment and the awe, the amazement turned to pure terror as the waters came higher than ever before. The waves were rougher, and suddenly the island became part of the sea. 6,000 plus people died in that horrific event. So maybe we can understand what's going on then for the disciples in the story from Matthew 14. Jesus has dispersed the crowd. He sends his disciples ahead on the boat, and he goes off for some quiet time. He's finally going to get that time alone to pray, to process, to be with God. And then he, in the wee hours of the morning, comes out to meet them. He's walking on the water. And by this point, the disciples, are scared. It's gone from okay to fear. They're being beat up by the waves and the wind, and there's Jesus. But isn't this a beautiful reminder for all God's people? Where does God meet us? God meets us when we are afraid. God meets us when we're scared. God meets us in those moments of uncertainty, and God's the one who comes to us. So there Jesus is, and Peter, of course, being one of those disciples and a leader, he boldly says, "Well, Lord, let me come out and do that. Come on, boy." Paraphrasing. And what happens is Peter comes out. He's walking on water too. But again, that line of awe and amazement and faith is ever so thin, because there, as Peter is on the water, he recognizes everything that's coming against him, and he begins sinking in fear, crying out to Jesus, who does save him. Isn't this a profound message for you and me? Our lives so easily can be driven by fear. Fear of what other people think, fear of failure or success, fear of Lord knows what. Petty fears so often control us. And at a larger communal consideration, fear drives us too. If the world spent less money on weapons of mass destruction and of armament, and put that money into feeding people, there would be no hungry people in the world. But we've watched over the last few weeks as North Korea has ramped up, and there's fear. I'm not sure we can solve all the world's problems, but I believe that we can discover something powerful when we recognize that the Lord Jesus comes to us, calling us even from our fears to faith. That's what we're going to be talking about this week at First Lutheran Church. I hope to see you Saturday or Sunday, and if the back pew has been meaningful, please pass it along. Think about your fears, and think about how God's with you and calling you past your fears. We'll see you Sunday.